Hey, Scott Grove from Imagine Woodworking, and I'm here with Marc Adams at the Marc Adams School of Woodworking in Indiana. And if you don't know anything about dyeing veneer, I don't know much, but Marc knows everything. He's like the world premier. So if you want to know how to dye veneer, this is your chance. So Marc, he does these reproduction of posters and actually dyes these to match the color exactly. We're not going to get into the exact matching, but just an overview of how you dye veneer. So Marc, thanks for taking time and having me here teaching and all that. So how do you do it?
Well, it all started back in the late 80s.
Okay.
I wanted to make a marquetry piece for my daughter.
Right.
And I chose to do something Disney just because it was a baby.
Sure.
But there's no colors in the natural sphere that match Walt Disney's
Sure,
colors.
right.
So I had to come up with a way to dye. And everywhere I went, there was no information, period. And in Pierre Ramoun's book on marquetry, he basically says you can't get perfect colors. So it's a real challenge. So I set out to try to figure out how to come up with these dyes. And
Okay.
I tried everything for years and years and years, and I finally came out with a process that works really, really well.
Okay.
And what I do is maple is the best wood to start with because
Hard or soft?
it'd be better if it's hard maple.
Hard maple?
But it starts as it's already white in its color.
Sure.
So you can go anywhere you want with it. If you're trying to dye poplar, you might have green in it, so you
Right.
gotta take the blue or whatever. So
Sure.
it doesn't work. The other thing about maple is it's not only the best wood, but it's also the hardest wood to get dye to go into. So you're gonna have a little bit more of a challenge, but when you
Sure.
get done, it's a great veneer to work with.
Okay.
So it's the one that you'd want. From there, I start and I take my pieces of veneer, and usually they're probably 16 inches long by 8 or 9 inches wide.
Okay.
And I put them in a little turkey baster
Right.
with water, and I cook just the regular veneer for probably a day or two. And what that does is it cooks out the tannic acids.
Do you use distilled water? Or
No, for this
the
you
hard
can just,
water?
for this you can just, you don't want to use hard water if it's got rust in it.
Got it.
But it probably would be better if it was conditioned somehow.
Sure.
In any case, you boil the veneer, just plain old white maple, and what will happen is it bleaches out the tannic acid,
Tannins, yeah.
which will be really dark in their color.
Sure.
And you dump that water, and in a couple hours, put in new water. Dump that water, and you do that for a day or two.
So
Because
you
you've gotta-
have this thing boiling for a day or two, and you change how many
I
times?
do unplug it at night, so I
Sure.
don't boil at night.
Right.
But I change the water probably 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
And you'll know that you're there when all of a sudden the color of the water looks more like a very light tea.
Okay.
It's going to start out really black,
Sure.
but it's going to turn to that. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to do is get rid of the tannic acids because
Yeah.
they will affect the pH of whatever the dyes you're
Right.
using.
Right.
Okay, from there, you're ready to go to the dye. And the dye that works the absolute best is RIT dye.
Rit dye.
And
That's
when you
clothing.
think about it,
Tie dye. I remember
you
that.
want something that's going to hold up well in the sun.
Sure.
This does.
Yeah, yeah.
You want something that can hold up well in terms of not bleeding its colors or fading in time.
Right.
And so RIT dye
light
had
fast.
everything. Yes, it had everything that you needed. Plus, it works well with wood. It doesn't go into veneer easy. It's a lot to do. So once you get your tannic acids out, you take the veneer,
Yeah.
and then you add whatever color of RIT dye you want. By the way, you can mix RIT dyes to get any color you want.
And you mix the dyed water up first, and you
Yes,
pour that
you
in the
pour it
pan.
in,
Yep.
and then you stir up that. So you've got, let's say it's blue. So you've got all this blue mixed, and then you put one piece in at a time of
Yeah.
your veneer to let the water kind of come around it.
Sure.
And then at that point in time, the things that help the dye to penetrate better
Right.
are heat.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't boil.
Sure.
180 degrees, somewhere in that neighborhood. is where you want the
180.
water.
Okay.
And the other thing is agitation. Now the problem with agitating veneer is it's going to all come apart.
Right.
So my agitation is just simply every couple of hours again, I just take them out, re-rotate them, stick them back in again.
And do you
take them out,
do you
rotate
separate them with like marbles?
them. No, I tried
or-
all that, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
No,
So
doesn't
the veneer
work. And it's-
touching
and
is
it-
fine.
And veneer sitting on top of veneer is fine as long
Okay.
as you're rotating the veneer.
Okay. Okay.
And it could take anywhere from a day
Okay.
to several days, depending upon the type of color.
And how do you to figure
So
the color? You
what
pull
I
it
do
out
is
and look
I
at
take
it.
a piece out and I crack it along the side.
Sure,
just
and to see penetration.
Right, and then if it looks like it's getting close, I'll peel a little piece off, go stick it in the microwave for a few minutes, for a few seconds. I'm sorry, don't let it catch on fire. And then with that, I can snap it again, and I can see does that color penetrate 100%.
Okay.
So by the time it's all done, once I get it penetrated,
Right.
the next thing and the key thing is you have to take it out of the hot water. You have to put it in ice water,
And you gotta set
which
it.
shocks it.
Right.
And then at that point in time, now you got to figure out how you're going to dry it. And dry it,
Now
keep it
that
flat.
just regular water. You don't put baking soda, pH.
No,
neutral?
don't do
Okay.
don't do anything. You'll screw
Regular
pH.
water, ice water.
Ice water. Just stick it in ice water. It only has to be in there for a second or two.
Sure.
When you take it out, now you got to figure out how you're going to dry it.
Right.
And so what I do at that point in time is I just put a piece of Scott paper towel or Bounty or whatever it is
Sure.
in between each piece,
Sure.
and I stick it into a press.
Yep.
And every so many hours again, I pull out that paper and put in new paper.
Sure, sure.
Because you've got to dry it down, and that could take a long time.
And keep it flat too.
By the time I start
Yeah.
with the initial process of the tannic acids, to the time I get done where I'm ready to use it, it could take 3 to 4 weeks for one color. So it's not a quick process.
Sure, sure.
But it lasts forever. And so these colors have been color fast tested by 2 different corporations. Formica Corporation is one,
Okay.
and Dye Wood Veneers is another.
Yeah, yeah.
And what they found is the color on here can last up to, in their testing, without any degradation at all, for about 90 some odd years out of 100.
Okay, they UV tested.
They do all the tests.
Okay.
So it has great color, but that's again because of the red dye.
Sure. And when you're trying to match a color, is it hit or miss, or when you look at it white, it's 2 shades dark, or how does that all?
It's hit or miss. And
Okay.
so what I do is and by the way, the mixing is one of those little boxes of red dye, one of those for about a gallon of water.
Okay.
Okay, so that's about the formula. You don't want to re-add dye a day into it. Once it's started that color, you can't change it.
Got it.
And so for me, I might do blue, but I might do blue with 1 packet of dye, and I might do one with 2 packets.
I see.
I might come back and add a little bit of a different color. Sometimes you'll find it just the texture of the wood itself. You
Change.
might get one color today with the exact same recipe. The next day you get a different color.
And do you
So that's how I do my
reuse the
shade.
water, like it gets
No,
lighter
that-
after you
dump it
after you
outside.
do one
And
round?
you can take the
Dump it.
water and you can just put it out on the grass. It won't hurt anything.
So that's why your grass is
That's why
multicolored.
that's why it's green.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
because I do green dye. So that's the process.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. You guys, check out Marc Adams School of Wood. Do you teach the dye process here? Or?
Only in my market.
Okay, so you want to learn marquetry? You know, this is laser cut, but he also does hand cut, and there's a bunch of other veneer people here, spiral match. But Marc Adams School of Woodworking, marcadams.com.
Something like that.
Something like that. Google it. If it'll show up like on the first 10 pages. Check out my site, imaginewoodworking.com. That'll bring you the links to everything else. And thanks for watching. Okay, thank you, Marc.
Hey,
Really
thanks
appreciate it.
as
All right.
well for not hitting me while you're throwing your arms all over the place.
All right. All right. Thank you. Like, subscribe, share.